Testing, testing. All right, hello everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us for this session about how creators teach. My name is Olivia Owens and I lead product marketing and partnerships at Teachable, a platform that enables entrepreneurs and educators to build education businesses. And I'm really excited to be here for this panel with some amazing creators. Teachable has been around for over a decade, and in that time we've had a front row seat to how creator businesses actually grow. And what we've watched over and over is that the creators who build something durable, they aren't the ones with the biggest audience. They're the ones that have figured out how to turn their expertise into education, whether that be through courses, coaching programs, cohorts, and we have some amazing creators who are doing exactly that. And we're gonna unpack what that looks like in practice, which learning formats are thriving, which ones are burning out, and how creators turn knowledge into income while building real trust with their audiences. So before we jump into some questions, I'd love to give our panelists the opportunity to introduce themselves. Cassandra, we'll start with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Cassandra Bankson. I say it's like advice you give to your kid, put your money in the bank, son. I've been a content creator for 17 years, started completely on accident with the struggle I was having with my acne. And I would cover it with makeup to the point that people couldn't tell that I had it anymore, so I could become a runway model. But I felt very disingenuous because on one hand I'm being called pretty, and then the other I'm called Rocky Road. So I started my journey in medical aesthetics, sharing with people what I was learning, what was working, what wasn't, and now do content around the chemistry of skincare and women's empowerment.
Amazing, and Sundas.
Great job. Hi everyone, I am Sundas Khalid. I am a tech and AI creator, and my story started when I started working in tech about 12 years ago, and I realized that I'm the only woman working in a team of data engineers and probably the only woman of my ethnicity on the floor. So I went to social media because I wanted to find other women in tech who looked like me and who come from a similar background and struggles as me, so I could connect with them, so I have less of an imposter syndrome. And in social media, I not only found an amazing community of women in tech, but I turned out to be a content creator. So I've been creating content for a while now, a couple of years. I post a lot on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, talk about tech and AI and demystify and turn complex topics into like simple, understandable knowledge and information that people can learn from and apply to their daily lives as well as their career. So happy to be here.
Thanks, Sundas. And Eugene.
Hey, whoa. Okay, too close. Hey, I'm Eugene. I have been a content creator for about 2.5 years now. I got diagnosed with ADHD about 3 years ago, and then I started making content about ADHD, relatable content. My Instagram grew really fast. I didn't know what to do with all the audience that I've acquired. So now I'm running an ADHD coaching program, helping people with ADHD raise their dopamine baseline so they can manage their symptoms.
Awesome. We have quite a diverse group of creators with us. We're going to start the panel out with some numbers. You might have noticed there's a card on your seat. We pulled together a report that's sharing some of the trends that we're seeing on both the creator side and on the learner side. What are learners interested in digging into? And what we saw is creators who resell to their existing audience do so at 4 times the average rate, and repeat buyers can increase lifetime value by more than 80%. So in other words, the most successful creators aren't just chasing new followers, they're building relationships with the people who already trust them. And then we also surveyed some students, and 92% said they were likely to buy from the same creator again. But the tension is, the number one reason they don't is there's no clear next step. The relationship kind of just fizzles out. So I'm curious, Eugene, with what you've built with your university, when you made the shift from content to course, what surprised you most about how your audience showed up differently as students versus followers?
How many of you guys are content creators here? Okay, so that's half the room. Now, what was the question?
Yes. So how did your audience show up differently as students versus followers once you started engaging with them outside of the platforms?
How did they show up as students versus followers? So because I ran my Instagram, I ran relatable ADHD skits. So when I was doing I did my first coaching program about a year and a half ago. They saw me as someone who did relatable skits. So my very first coaching program was a 5-day challenge. So before then, do you guys know what a 5-day challenge is? So basically I talk about ADHD, how to increase the dopamine. And the first time they saw me as an expert, they're like, oh God, this guy actually knows some stuff. Like he's not just doing comedy skits. So when I funneled people from my Instagram to my coaching, to my 5-day challenge, they realized like, oh, okay, this guy can actually help me with my ADHD. And then they bought into my coaching program. So there's kind of like a funnel. So because I do comedy, like my authority is quite low, but as soon as I funnel them into like a webinar, kind of like a 5-day challenge, my authority became a lot higher. And then they became my students. So if I were to, for example, talk about comedy and I'm like, I can fix your dopamine, I can fix your ADHD. It's kind of like it doesn't really work, so I had to kind of ease them into my ecosystem.
Yeah, and so you're bringing them in through relatability, making them feel understood, kind of like, I'm not the only one that experiences this, and then the challenge you're digging into the education, probably frameworks that give that trust to invest in your coaching program. I'm curious for Sundas or Cassandra, kind of in your more intimate experiences, what are you seeing with your students?
In terms of like the funnel and how they come about, I would say one of the things that I was really surprised is I've been posting on social media for like a very long time, and a lot of my content is about like very like heavy technical tutorials sometimes, and sometimes I will like create like documents, like Google Docs, like download this or access this to like follow along. And eventually I was like, I don't have to limit it to one video. Like I have audience across the platform that could find value in it. So essentially that started from like a problem that I was trying to solve for my audience and ended up turning it into digital products. And as soon as I went live with it, like people just ate it up. And that was like the clear need that I was meeting for my audience, basically. But I'll also say another thing is that because I've been sharing content from years, my audience is learning from me already. They already know my teaching style. They already like know my story, that I'm the first female in my family to graduate from a university. I'm a self-taught data scientist. So like there's a lot of trust I have built with my audience. So like as soon as I had a product, they were ready for it. So I would say like trust and building authenticity and like also like taking them on a journey and also like solving a problem that they actually have is the key to like basically having your audience, your followers turn into like real students, and it's been working out great.
Yeah, trust is so, so important. Like from being a comedian skit to like, how do they trust me in fixing their problems? That was like I had to work that out. Yeah.
How did you work that out?
Yeah, like I kind of, they know me, they want to listen to me, they want to hear me, so people with ADHD, like they like funny stuff, and then I threw like an hour of me talking to them. You need a lot of trust, so I kind of slowly just kind of just promoted my coaching program through a 5-day challenge, and they slowly came in and then converted.
And I'm curious for all of you, that transition from delivering free content, free experiences, to then ask your audience to invest in you. I know there's some anxiety that goes along with that. I talk with creators about that all the time. Cassandra, I know you do a ton of free education on YouTube. How do you think about monetization?
Yeah, monetization was something that I didn't crack until about 8 years in. I started on YouTube in 2008, 2009, when people didn't even know what it was. And I was crying in my parents' living room on the floor, filming videos about how I cover my pimples, right? And so I think that my audience grew with me, and over the years as I studied aesthetics, then medical aesthetics and emergency medicine, they were able to kind of follow that, and naturally I became more of an authority. But when I started monetizing, it was usually through brand deals and through AdSense, which is every single view translates into a certain amount of finance, as opposed to actually selling courses. So that for me didn't happen until after COVID. And I made the choice to go professional only. So the only courses that I have are to licensed aesthetic professionals, people who want to up their business skills and take their aesthetic businesses online. And to me, that was really interesting because the relationship with people who are viewing this from a business perspective or a patient care perspective or client care perspective is very different than those who come because they have an insecurity, they want a friend, or they want to learn. And I would say the biggest thing, whether you're speaking to someone in a professional sense as an authority or as a relatable comedian, it is understanding what value you provide. Are you a friend for them? Some people are really lonely. Is someone going through a difficult cancer, divorce, and they want an outlet? Is someone looking for a solution to their own blemishes or their own problems? You serve a very unique purpose in the lives of people around you as well as online. So knowing what that is and saying, I'm going to amplify this for free, or I'm going to do it in a paid sense, where sometimes people listen more when they're paying, is really, really special.
Yeah, I always hear people don't value what they don't pay for, so that investment to show up and so on. I'm curious, Sundas, for you, stepping into that monetization of your audience side, what were your thought processes and kind of how's it going on the other side?
That's a great question. Yeah, I would say like selling is a skill that I don't think I had, but I'm like slowly developing it. And I think there is like something, I don't know, like the marketing term, exact term, like you can be like pretty aggressive or you can be like more natural and like go in a way that you're trying to solve actually a problem. So for me, like when I started monetizing like through digital products and courses, brand partnership was obviously there, but that is like more like working with businesses. But like selling courses, you're like selling it to students who are like your audience and individuals like you. So building a narrative around like, okay, this is something that I put in this amount of time. This is the cost that I've had like for developing this course, and that's how the price is justified. So I think like being authentic, being open, being honest, like has helped me kind of like be okay with like selling at a price because there is a lot of work that goes into it. And the audience understands it as well. So like when I got my first sale, I was like really surprised. Like the first sale is always so special, and you would remember it. And I still remember the name of the person who bought my first course, and it's been like an amazing journey, and I'm still learning a lot, like building my email list, how to like smart marketing and building sequences, building funnels, and all of that. It's like learning in progress. So I'm learning as I go.
I love it. How about you, Eugene?
Oh, this one's a big, like, I didn't know how to price my coaching program. So, interesting story. This is not recorded, is it? Okay, so basically, so my coaching program at the time when I was selling, I was like, it was $3,000. But then I learned something from my mentor. He said like, you have to do something called price anchor and do something that's a lot higher. Like do an offer that is like ridiculous. So I charged $15K, right? And I pitched the $15K and people bought the $15K. And I was like, wait. This doesn't, wait. Oh God. And then I served the $15K. So this was like a one-on-one, 2-month, 8 weeks, every week, one-on-one with me. And she transformed. Her ADHD got so much better. And I'm like, oh my God, my worth is now $15K. So because of that, like my confidence went up, everything went up. So I'm very grateful for that. But the very first $15K, I was like, oh my God, like I saw like my whole future. Like I can see it like, okay, I'm gonna charge this, do this, transform this. And I feel so fulfilled every time I get those testimonials after the coaching program.
Amazing. I mean, to put it out there and get somebody that's willing to invest in you at that level, I agree, is such a huge confidence boost. I'm curious on the other side of the sale. Once your students are coming in, what formats of learning are you using today? What's working for accountability? Kind of how are you building the learning experience to drive the core learning outcomes and help students feel like they're getting return on their investment? Okay,
so I'll step you guys through my journey. So I grew really fast on Instagram. Went from 0 followers to 1 million followers in 6 months on Instagram. And because of that, I didn't know what to do with my audience. So I first did coaching, group coaching myself. So that's charged at like It went to about $7,000 for group coaching, and one-on-one is $15,000 at 8 weeks. It's an 8-week program. And then I realized I can't keep doing this, right? So now I've hired coaches to teach my frameworks. So now it's about how can I give my clients more value using my method. So I hire coaches, they teach my method one-on-one every single week, but this time it's not 2 months, it's about a 6-month program at about $5,000.
And I'm curious to just dig a little deeper there. How did you go about building your method? What did that look like?
Oh, this one. Okay, I'll summarize this really fast. So basically, my method is, well, if you think about people with ADHD, right? They procrastinate a lot. They struggle to focus, anxiety, overwhelm, bad sleep. I didn't get diagnosed till 3 years ago. So I learned everything of how to manage it myself. So I packaged up everything I did that made me better into a framework, dialed it in, and I'm like, here you go, right? It's the very first time when I sold it, it worked better than it worked for me. So I was like, oh my God, this is a huge product. But I have to obviously test it. So who here's heard of like a dopamine detox? Yeah, so dopamine detox is basically you, not just social media detox, it's basically you detox away from everything. Anything you find fun, like your sugar, if you like arguing with your partner because it's stimulating. So you detox away from any sort of stimulation, and it makes your dopamine receptors more sensitive over time. So I packaged that up and I gave it to my ADHD audience, and they're loving it.
Amazing. Sundas, I'm curious for you, taking the education that you were doing on your platforms, how did you think about structuring that into a program?
So right now with AI, information is everywhere. If you want to learn a new topic, you can just like type into ChatGPT or Gemini. You can ask it to teach you machine learning. You can ask it to teach you linear algebra. But what's missing, and because there's like so much information, what's missing is structure. So when I was thinking about like creating something like more of a product and as a course, I wanted to put structure around it. And one of the things that I was really adamant about, somebody, when they finish my course, they should have 3 bullet points that they could add to their resume. So that's like an actual outcome that they can like drive from working on this course and actually add it to their resume and help them in their like career search or like getting better at whatever job they are at. So one of my most successful course is like 5 hands-on data scientist projects. And because I've worked in the industry for about 12 years now, I understand what data science work looks like. I understand like what looks good on resume. So like I use that expertise to format what the 5 projects would be, what specific technical skills, what coding languages, what coding platforms that should be part of that course. And then basically, if you take that course, you end up, there are 5 projects. Each project comes with 3 bullet points. After you finish it, you not only learn, but you can go take that and put it on your resume. So 3 times 5, basically that's how many bullet points you end up with. So like giving some sort of like outcome-driven structure, having a structure but having a tangible outcome has been like really valuable for me personally.
Amazing. And Cassandra, for selling to kind of corporate or more from a B2B perspective, on our platform, we see that the top creators on our platform are selling both B2C and B2B. So you're able to leverage the intellectual property, the methods that you're creating for not just selling to the consumer, but also selling to corporates. And I'm curious, when you're thinking about a licensed professional investing in this, the outcomes that they're going to want to see, how has that informed how you structure your programs?
Yeah, when it comes to structuring programs, I was really lost in the beginning. And I decided, what if I took this the way these textbooks explain it, but put everything in that the textbooks are missing? For example, like you said, information is so available now. We can use ChatGPT, Gemini, come up with all of these prompts and this information. But it misses the personal touch. It misses the personal story. And if we were to talk about a skin condition called eczema, which is like dryness of the skin, clinically, it would present as, eczema is an erythematous rash of the skin that is due to a filaggrin deficiency, and bleach baths can help. Well, what if I told you, okay, there was a kid Her name was Sammy. And by age 2, she was itching so bad she couldn't even sit in daycare. Her parents didn't know what to do. Well, she did some genetic testing. It seems that her skin is actually missing a protein that is essential to hold it together. And she was able to see a doctor where they gave her a really cool skincare ingredient that happens to be found in some laundry detergent, a low form of bleach. And her mom started giving her bleach baths, and she didn't itch so badly anymore. Because her skin was more moisturized, she could now, focus in daycare. And you're gonna remember that. You're gonna relate to how it felt, or you're gonna relate to that patient. And so in patient care, it really is about the people. So kind of bringing some of those things in, some of those anecdotes and those stories, they make it memorable. And then when people are putting this into practice, they can actually rely on remembering that story as opposed to just what is the clinical outcome.
Yeah, storytelling is huge. I think we've started to inch into this AI conversation, and I think from the Teachable perspective, when it comes to education, I think what we're actually seeing with AI is an acceleration and a hunger to learn. I think now that it's so accessible to get access to knowledge, and I think there's also this anxiety of getting left behind. I think everybody's wondering, in my job, in my career, am I gonna be replaced? How do I make sure I'm an early adopter or I'm staying ahead? And they're seeking access to the experts or the people paving the way. So I think from our perspective, it's increasing a desire for access to knowledge, and I think there's only so much that ChatGPT or an LLM can bring to the table. I think real lived experience, real kind of the pain points or the hurdles that you know you're gonna run into, that's the value that we see creators that will continue to bring to the table. But I'm curious for all of you, how are you thinking about AI in your businesses, how it's impacting your education programs? Curious your POV. We can start with you, Cassandra.
Yeah, I did a little stint in data science along with some of the human bio and emergency medicine stuff. And I feel like it was a constant feeling of either being on the verge of being replaced or constantly being left behind. And as humans, we almost have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be human? There's a theory out there called the K curve, which is the idea that AI will accelerate, and those that use it will be ahead, and those that don't will continually be left behind. And while that's a terrifying prospect, and it might not be true, there's something to be said about the fact that AI, these LLMs, these algorithms, they are a part of our lives. So how do we use them to make our human experience better? And I found very quickly that if I would type things into an LLM, sometimes it would hallucinate. It would get things wrong. It would give me sources that don't even exist. So I started creating agents and actually MCPs and essentially training data based on medical textbooks. And then whatever it would spit out, I would have to go back and check. Now, I think where AI really is, where the potential is generative, both generative AI and then also general artificial intelligence. So when can a system replace the need for someone to press buttons or to organize calendar meetings or to organize patient appointments? That's something that I've been trying to work on, and while it is great, it has not replaced humans yet. And then even if it did replace humans, how would you feel reporting to a boss that is an algorithm in a computer? How would you feel dating someone and then you find out, oh, they're just very well-spoken AI? There's something to be said about that human experience. So knowing where AI can be helpful and beneficial versus where you want to keep the human element is really important. And I think anyone in construction, in trade jobs, or in aesthetics and nursing, there's something to be said about like the human touch. And I don't think that's ever gonna go away.
I agree. How about you, Sundas?
Yeah, for me, I would say I totally agree with you. I would say AI is not gonna replace anybody. I think AI is a tool that is going to be part of different workflows. And if there is one thing from social media perspective and education perspective, if there's one thing that AI is going to do is make the human touch and the element, the authenticity more valuable. I'll give an example. On my social media right now, I used to have very highly production videos, Reels and YouTube videos. But now there are a lot of AI-generated content that looks very real. And it's becoming more and more difficult when you have really polished videos. It's becoming more and more difficult to identify which one is AI-generated and which one is human-generated. So now I'm switching my content strategies to be more raw and more authentic. English is my second language, and there are certain words that I pronounce. I like struggle pronouncing. For example, for the life of me, I cannot say Massachusetts, something like that. And now when I'm like recording a video and I mess up, like I tell my editor, don't cut it out, leave it in. Like I want those bloopers in there. If my camera is falling, I want that in there. I want people to know this is real me, this is the authentic me, and I want them to like continue building that trust with me. And be able to differentiate like that I'm actually a human and not AI generated. So like that's one thing that I'm doing on my social media. But from like my courses perspective, I think one of the things that a lot of students are now asking is, yes, I learned the skill, like I took this course that you created. What are some tools that I can use after taking this course to like continue learning? So like in my courses now, I'm like continuously adding elements of like how you can continue to use AI as a tutor after you finish this. Like if there is a certain subject that you get stuck in, this is like the prompt that you will use to learn like more about it. So yes, AI is here, but I definitely don't think AI is going to replace anybody. I think it's going to make humans and connections and authenticity and IRL things like these even more important.
I love it. That was so specific. I love the idea of keeping the blooper in. I do think we're kind of being trained to feel a sense of relief when we realize, when we're talking to the chat and somebody responds and you realize it's actually a human, it's like, thank God, I'm going to get to what I actually need. So I think those little moments that like draw us back to, oh, this is a real-time experience, they're in here with me, is going to become more precious. How about you, Eugene? How are you thinking about this?
Ooh, okay, so I use AI a lot, and basically, do you guys, most people use Claude here, right? Or ChatGPT. Claude, put your hand up. ChatGPT, put your hand up. Oh, wow, it's 50-50. Okay, so Claude, right? So because of my old coaching programs and everything, I basically put all my chat, everything about my company and my finances into Claude. And then I'm like, okay, some clients are having these problems, and some coaches are having these problems. 5 problems from coaches, 5 problems from clients. And then it just gave me a new outline. And I'm like, oh, okay, this could work. So keep in mind, what I'm selling, the coaching program, the outline, I'm selling accountability, okay? So technically, my clients can follow a ChatGPT thing, but what our coaches do is keep them accountable to follow the ChatGPT thing or like the Claude thing. So for me, I think the ROI is super high in terms of like, do I trust Claude more or my own opinions? I think I'm like, I use Claude to facilitate my framework even more because it can back it up with so much data. It will be like, cold showers, 250% more dopamine. All right, clients, you're all doing that now. Yeah, so it's kind of like, how do I keep them accountable to do those things? So yes. And another one is coaches will never be replaced by AI because of the human factor. So that's something that I can always grow in the future because, yeah, you need that human touch, and we do give that human touch.
Yeah, and I think to validate this, in the survey that we did with students, only 4% of students say they're replacing paid courses with AI entirely, and that group is almost entirely people who use AI every single day. So it's not just people who aren't interested in AI, there's still a belief that there's value to making an investment in a course and so on. I think we've talked a lot about the human connection piece. I'm curious, in your education programs, what are those human connection touch points that you're leveraging now or that you want to test and experiment with this year? What does that look like? How about you, Cassandra?
Yeah, I think those big touch points are things such as burnout. You know, small business owners leaving corporate dermatology and now doing things on their own and struggling with raising a family and trying to run a practice. So really leaning into what that feels like and how to support through it. Something that I used to do was live streams with different people, both in my free community and education online, as well as some of the paid. And I realized that that was actually becoming too much of a burden on me. If I couldn't show up for myself, I couldn't show up for others. And that was really difficult because I realized that these live sessions might not be the best overall. But there were other ways to foster communities, to build communities, to have other people step in and like moderate different chats that still gives people that sense of community, that sense of cathartic relief, in addition to the education, in addition to the next steps. Because there's something to say, I'm overwhelmed, I need help, ChatGPT or Gemini, give me a prompt, this is what I'll do. And it's another to say, wow, Olivia, I'm really struggling with XYZ. Like, my dad is a cancer survivor, and my brother's having issues, what do I do? And for us to talk about that, and then for you to say, you know what, this is how we can move through that. And then when it comes to your work, this is where you can give yourself a little bit of a break. And here's where you can double down in, oncology skincare. And I think things like that make people feel way better because they also remember what you teach, but they remember how you make them feel.
Absolutely. How about you, Sundas?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, the question was, how are you thinking about human touch points with your community? How are you thinking about keeping the human in the learning experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say a couple of things that I want to do, and I've started doing partially, is more community focused, whether that is digital or in person. So I want to do more in-person meetups with my audience, with my students, as well as more community-based online forums. I think a lot of the times I feel like as a creator, I'm just talking at the audience. I want to build that whether that is a live stream or a webinar or something that is integrated touch point within my courses and digital products where I'm able to kind of talk to them more in a live scenario. And especially, as I said earlier, with AI, there's so much digital noise, and it's very difficult to separate what's human and what's not. I think having those IRL communities and anything community-based is really valuable right now, and something that I want to prioritize this year.
Yeah, and Eugene, I know coaching is so core to what you guys do, which keeps it very human. Are there any other touch points that you're exploring?
So I do group facilitation twice a week where they come on and then I put them into a breakout room and then they get to mingle with each other. And I think that part's really important because think of it like AA for people with ADHD. They need that community factor. And another one is because AI is going to take over, right? But I'm leaning towards less AI and more human connection. So in the future, I will be, if the finance allows it, open up wellness centers and then go to I'm from New Zealand, so go to New Zealand and then do a digital detox. So that's something I will grow into if the finance allows it.
That's amazing. Yeah, something that I've also been thinking a lot about and where Teachable really wants to help and support creators through this is from the creator side, you have the expertise, the knowledge, the IP, but you have a mass amount of students who need to learn in different ways. So what if when you're going through the process of onboarding a student, you're able to know, does this person like to take a long time with their learning or short time with their learning? Do they have ADHD and do they need different formats? And can you remix the content if they start by watching the video, but then they're on the go and they just want to listen to the audio? I think platforms like Teachable have a huge opportunity to help support creators meet their students where they're at and keep you able to do the kind of education, the expertise sharing that you have. I think something else that I'm curious about is when it comes to community experiences, I think when we think of community right now, we think of something that is very formal, message board, communicating back and forth, but I'm really a fan of kind of those kind of undercover community experiences, like when you're reading the Kindle and you see that other readers highlighted a passage and you're like, oh yeah, other people have been reading this. Or when you're on a Peloton bike and you know that other people are taking the class, you're not necessarily communicating back and forth with them, but I love those kind of touch points that again, remind you that this thing that you're experiencing is human and can be powerful. I'm curious for 2026, if you were able to accomplish one big thing for the education side of your business, what are you guys kind of charting towards?
I can go first. I think for me, it would be a lot of my courses right now are self-paced. So I think I want to have more coaching and some touch points throughout the course where I'm doing more of a cohort style. So this is something that I've been wanting to explore, and this year I want to spend and invest a little bit of time into it because I think, especially with AI right now, those tend to, or those are doing really well and people are craving it too. So want to try that teaching style.
I love it. How about you, Eugene?
So the question is my goal for education this year.
The education side of your business this year. It feels like the wellness
Yeah.
center maybe like
Yeah,
the
that's like
down the road thing, but what's the goal for this year?
So right now we're finding that here's what I think about it, right? So we have coaches, but we have to hire for the right type of coaches, which is very difficult. So that's why we're changing up the system a little bit. Whereas it used to be 80% coaches relying on like, hey, is this coach good enough to transform their life? Now we're kind of changing it over to 80% Eugene's framework, and figuring out how to actually just get the process of helping them from A to B and have the coach just guide them through A to B. So transformation will be a lot easier, and at the same time, hiring for coaches will be a lot easier. Like if the idea is if I can get any one of you to become a coach right now, then I can scale my coaching side and just find customers for you all to coach and take them through my framework of A to B. And that way I can transform more people. And my job will be focusing on content and spreading my message so that more people go into the funnel, into my A to B.
I got it. How about you, Cassandra?
Yeah, for us, I think it's really about certification. We've realized that once you go through these courses, you learn a lot, you start, applying it. There's a pedigree to that. And I think for a long time, I didn't recognize that that was something that we were providing. And when you see, USDA certified organic, or when you see that it's a B Corp certified company, even though that's not like, B Corp is not a legal definition, or cruelty-free is not a legal definition, you know that it meets a certain third-party standard. So looking at not licensing people to practice aesthetics, nursing, or medicine, but looking at can we apply a different certification on top of this, saying that they've completed this course, or that they do this with patient care first, that they do this, from a perspective of understanding things in a certain framework. That I think is really, really unique. And we've seen that certain aesthetic offices or certain dermatology clinics that have these additional certifications from things like B Corp certified companies or an acne advisor or a laser tech, that can actually be used as marketing for them. It's showing that they put in the effort, that they got a certain grade, that they applied themselves. And I think that's something that we're heavily exploring this year.
Yeah, I also think as we look to evaluate experts on a go-forward basis, we are going to start wondering about those kind of signals that this is legitimate or this is somebody that knows what they're talking about to differentiate from kind of the AI slop that we'll start to see across. So I think the certification angle is a really, really strong one and something that creators can start to think about. It may not be your traditional version of certification, but how can we show and give those marketing opportunities for people? We know that this is a room full of creators. I talk to creators all the time who are like, yeah, I'm gonna build my course. I've been building it for 3 years. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna get it out there. But I will honor that it's layered, right? Like A, it does take time to build your first course. B, then you have to put yourself out there and ask people to invest in you. So I would ask each of you, for the person in the audience who's like, 2026 is the year I'm gonna build my course, what advice do you have to get over that hump?
Okay, I'm gonna go first. Okay. All right. So it's not as hard as you think. You can actually build it. You just sell the thing. Imagine you don't have a coaching program or a course right now. Sell your course, and then when they come in, build it as you take them through. Like week 1, build it. There's like, let's say week 1's about to start tomorrow, right? Oh no, that's too early. Okay, in a week time. Build it and then facilitate that week. And then build it the second week and facilitate the second week. And that way, by the end of the 8 weeks, you have an 8-week program. And that stress, that's what I did, right? And I'm like, oh my God, next week I have no content. Like, how do I give them more course? So I had to figure it out, and then I delivered on the next week and the next week. But if you're thinking you want to make an 8-week course, that's so difficult, man, because you're gonna think perfectionism. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. No, you have a deadline next week. Your clients are waiting for you to deliver, and you deliver it. I think that would be my take. Yeah.
I feel like that's the ADHD hack.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
that works for me.
so that works for me. That works for me. I'm not sure if it'll work for, you're right.
It works for me too. But I also think, to Eugene's point, there is a portion of your audience that would be really interested in the building it with you experience. If you're upfront about it, like, hey guys, I really want to get this education out there. I'm looking for 10 people to be a part of the beta and be a part of that. So like, you also can be upfront. And I think that also builds another layer of trust with your audience of like, oh, I get to be in the early stage with you. Oh, you're being vulnerable about building this thing and it's your first time. So I think it's also a trust builder as well. How about you, Sundas? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I'll just plus one to Eugene because that's the exact mistake I made. I spent about 6 months developing my first course, which was on like hands-on LLM development, app development, and if I were to do it all over again, I would basically survey my audience, give them some options, ask them, these are the 3 courses I'm thinking about. Which one are you most likely to take? Then I will like start a wait list of people who are interested in, if you want to go like even one step further, I would like ask them to prepay. And that will give you the motivation and also a burden to like deliver. So if you're the type of person who I am, like needs accountability, that will give you a lot of accountability. And because you already have a customer base who have paid, you will build with them. So don't do what I did with my first course. Be more nimble and fail fast, learn fast, and build with your audience.
Yeah, I also think the first students that are going to get into the course will have immediate feedback that you're going to want to iterate on and improve on. And so if you spent hours upon hours and hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on video production in a studio, and then the student gets in and you immediately have to edit something, that sets you up for failure. So even if you're doing a webinar as the first opportunity, and then you take that recording, you pull it up, and then you get the feedback and you iterate along the way, the creators who I see be most successful, that's the approach that they take versus making the first version 50 hours of every single thing that's in your brain about this topic and getting it out there.
What I would say is make sure that you're building for your clients and your customers and not for you. If we were to go back to the 1920s and say, hey, everyone who commutes every day, what do you want? They're going to say more horses, faster horses, when what they could have used is a car. So what is it that we don't yet know? And sometimes making sure that you're looking at the needs of your customers, asking them, but also thinking outside the box. You're the expert. What can you build that is opening up their mind into ideas and solutions that they haven't even considered? Can be really helpful. And also just imposter syndrome. Nobody that I've ever spoken to liked the way they sounded when they spoke on camera. Everyone's worried about their hair. A lot of content creators have like a mirror behind their camera that they're checking themselves out in. We are human, and being human is being imperfect. And it's okay to lean into that. And sometimes those mistakes, those are the things that people come for because it's comforting. So sit down, just do it, get over yourself, because we all have those insecurities, but the insecurities that you see, the flaws that you see, other people aren't noticing. So ask around and just build for others and think more about them than you do yourself.
I totally agree. In our onboarding, when we work with creators, one of the first things we have them do is an audience survey. You want to understand, how old are the people in my audience? Have they bought a paid product before? How much were they willing to spend on a paid product? That helps inform you of what you're coming to the table with, and gives you a little bit more confidence that when you're putting it out there, your audience is ready for it. So I think those are really great tips. Before we open it up for audience questions, I wanted to ask each of you. I think I've been with Teachable for 3.5 years. I feel like every single year, it's the year that courses are gonna die. Whether it's the social media platforms, YouTube's gonna take it over, now it's the AI conversation. I'm curious, what's your kind of like hot take response to people who think the education piece, selling knowledge for creators, is gonna be taken over?
Okay. I really hated university. So we're basically replacing university. University is owned by big corporates. Oh, not big corporates. Like people up top, right? But if people who make courses, they have a heart. If you're actually doing this properly, they want to transform your life. And at a fraction of a cost as university, am I grammaring right? Wait, as a fraction of a cost that costs okay. Anyways, so universities, I dislike universities because I have ADHD as well. Okay, I'm losing my point again. Where was I? I'll come back. Come back to me. Let me process this.
Marinade, live marinade. This is keeping it human, by the way. Sundas.
It'll come back.
How about you?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, hot take of why your courses will remain AI isn't gonna in this industry, in this space.
Yeah, the reason the reason my courses or courses that are like well created are going to stay relevant is because one, it includes trust that I've built with my audience, and it includes the story, the why. I'm a self-taught data scientist, and for my audience, they want to learn how I became a self-taught data scientist. No AI is going to replace that. The second thing is like I'm teaching my audience tools in terms of like how they can continue learning with AI after they finish this course. So their learning doesn't stop here. I'm actually teaching them how they can like continue growing with it. So yes, AI has a lot of information, but as we discussed earlier, like the information overload is also a burden. And what course creators like us do is basically put a structure around it, make it human, and make it digestible and actionable.
I have a really hot take on this one.
Yes, let's hear it.
By the way. I think everyone who has something to share should have a course where they can monetize more directly than just publicly. But that being said, years ago, we all used to think that everyone had to have a candle and a fireplace to have light in their homes. We all used to have gold coins before we had dollar bills, and now we have credit cards. Or we had, pen and paper before we had typewriters, and now text message. Old technologies will be replaced by new ones. And I think eventually, maybe courses will be replaced by something else. But the question is, what's happening here and now? What's working here and now? And what's projected to work into the future? And if you look at the internet, people are watching content all the time. They're still reading books, maybe not as much. But a lot of people are funneling into private communities, not the web that everyone can see, but the ones that take a layer of password and security. They want to be a part of something. That's what a course is. And so even if it doesn't last 100 years, it's working now, it's providing value, it's allowing creators who wouldn't otherwise be able to monetize to actually have a decent living. And I think for that, it's looking at what's working now, how can I be a part of that? And when things start to change, how can I have my finger on the pulse so that at least I'm aware of the macro changes that are happening?
I love it. Eugene, back to you.
Okay, it came back to me. Okay. So university costs like hundreds of thousands of dollars, and some people don't even do anything with their degree afterwards. Like, what? And then courses, if like there's so many AI, how to be a better AI XYZ, right? It's like $5,000, and you might even get a job after this course. So I don't think course will ever be replaced unless universities can make it so fast, like they can create AI courses or AI this, or, oh, hey, look, now this is popping up. Let's create a course on that. That's not going to happen. Like, we basically, is that the word? Democratize university. So it's basically creators that solve a big problem or they've made a big chunk of money can now teach other people to do the same and at a fraction of a cost. And to me, courses will never be replaced because of that factor. There we go.
I would +1 to that.
Yeah.
Plus 100 to that, actually. Yes, plus 100 to that. Universities are not moving fast enough, especially with like everything that is happening in the industry. And I think that's where like individuals have like an edge here because we can move really fast. And I do wish, like my kids are gonna go to university. I do wish like university catch up soon, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think the real-time updates, and I think that's the other thing we talk to creators about, that's the beautiful thing about your course. Some creators who their industry changes so quickly, they struggle with, well, people bought this course and now it's a little outdated. The beauty is you're able to update it in real time and keep up, and that keeps the conversation going with your students. So I think it speaks to the power of it as well. We have about 9 minutes left, so I want to make sure we have the opportunity to have the audience ask any questions that they have. You can just come up to the mic and ask.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and I am building a community on TikTok, but what I'm struggling with is I feel like there isn't one app for creating a community. I can't figure out, like, where do you get these people off of, like, for me on TikTok, most of my stuff goes to people that don't know who I am. So how do I talk to the people who do like me, who do want to see my content? How do I get them off of the platform? Because it's you can't just say, like, send me your email and I'll get, like, how do you do that? And is there an app or something coming where you can get them together? I've looked at Facebook groups and Slack and Discord and some other things, but nothing feels quite right. So just curious if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, Ashley, that's a really unique thing. And as someone who's pretty ingrained in TikTok, it's interesting. Even brands on TikTok use something called Lark or Facetune, as well as Discord communities. And then there's the in-app messaging. And it's like, oh my gosh, everything's everywhere. Something I've noticed creators doing on TikTok as well as Instagram is adding people in their community or their top followers to their personal story. For example, Selena Gomez added me to her personal story. I was like, Selena Gomez, what do you got to share with me about your husband's feet? No. She put me on her personal story to launch new information about her brand coming into Ulta. And what a great marketing tactic, because if I see Selena Gomez just adding me to her personal story, I'm going to be checking that. And it worked really well because it's a way that you can still broadcast, you can respond to messages and communicate, but it's already native to their natural scroll. So unlike me trying to get someone to purchase a course, on a different platform, it's native in-app. That's one option, but there's probably many more.
Yeah, I would just add on to that, Instagram has a broadcast channel, which has been a great tool. You can also let your audience communicate with you, like it's kind of like a DM, or if somebody's like a paid follower, there's a paid subscription on Instagram, they can like directly chat with you one-on-one. But one thing I would say, like if you are on social media, a mistake that I made is like I did not start my email list earlier. So build your email. It could be as simple as like Google form with one question. What's your email? And start a newsletter. And it doesn't have to be like regular. Like you could like send one monthly newsletter, but add value to your audience and build that email list. And eventually you can either like utilize that for like course selling or something else. But traditionally, what I've seen a lot of creators do is have community on Slack or Discord, and then there are like a lot of other tools out there. But I would say like simple ones would be like built in within apps, then newsletter, and then if you want to go take it one step further, is like go to Discord or Slack community.
I think TikTok for me is more like a funnel into Instagram, and Instagram is where the business lives because. And on Instagram, you can tell them to DM you a certain keyword and start a conversation. Whereas TikTok, I'm not sure if you can do that yet. So ideally, you want to put your link in bio as Instagram if you want to run your business through Instagram. But if your main platform is TikTok, it might be a little bit harder to funnel people because they're like on their toilet scrolling and having some fun, right? So it's yeah.
TikTok actually also launched a broadcasting feature. Yeah, but I don't know if it's like widely launched yet, but it's very similar to Instagram.
Yeah, I would just add there, I would think of it less about, there is no perfect app for community out there. I think there's so many different options and tools. A way that you can think about it is you could survey your audience where are they already going for community. So that same sentiment of keeping them in a broadcast channel on TikTok, where are they also native off of the platforms if they're already in Slack communities and that's a natural path for them, or Discord, so on. But I would think of it more of like, what is the journey that I want to take my community on with me? I think the newsletter or the email capture is critical because then that creates a form of communication that becomes one-to-one. You're not just relying on the algorithm to bring you back up for that person. And then what's the next touch point that you want to have for them? And then let the kind of tool or platform speak to what way you're trying to engage with them. Is that through a live session, or is that through a course, or is that through messaging? Kind of think through what you're trying to accomplish to determine where to send them next. Yes.
This is great. to your point about people sharing the information that they have, I'm in a place where I'm starting from a career in real estate. I can see that there is a huge gap in knowledge for people who want to enter into deciding where to live and the whole life cycle of home ownership. Deciding where to start, you know, what you said about structure being the value makes a lot of sense to me, but having an audience, you know, like figuring out what resonates with people, it makes sense to start with social media maybe, but where do you start?
What do you do in real estate?
I'm an agent.
You start, yeah, but think
Yeah.
about like when you
What do
start,
I-
where about? Do you go to a whole new city or do you start local? So think to yourself, what is it that my ideal customer, where are they and how can I start local to meet them where they're at?
Yeah, I would also say, I think for your expertise, there are organizations that those people are going to for resources or access to information. So to start to build your authority, are you able to go in and do a workshop for an organization in your community to start?
Oh, sorry, let me rephrase.
Yes.
I have 15 years of experience.
Yes.
Right, and so I think that the value of the information applies nationally, and so I don't need to have in-person relationships.
Mhm.
It's the
Social.
right, getting beyond my own personal reach to begin that process, you know, when you want to take that information elsewhere.
Yeah, I think the angle with organizations is you get to leverage their audience. So if you're doing webinars for their communities, that's getting you in front of other people. So that's the angle that I was going with that, of beyond your exact network, leverage the people who are already connecting with people in that context to draw them into your sphere, essentially.
I would also add, like, if you're specifically looking into social media, I would say, like, first figure out what type of format would you be good at.
Yeah.
Would it be written content? Would it be video-based content? Would it be photo content? Like, that will automatically help you figure out which platform you need to be present on. For example, if you're really good at writing, like, two of the great places to start would be like starting either on LinkedIn, where possibly like a lot of like local people who are possibly interested in buying real estate, or starting a newsletter. A simple one could be just using Substack, which is like a free platform that you can like create a newsletter. And you can use LinkedIn as a funnel to kind of like build that email list that you can like nurture them further through like a newsletter, and eventually build a product, a course that you can like sell to those people. So like the first step would be like understanding what you would be good at and what you're willing to invest your time in.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have time for one last question.
In an age when things are moving so fast, and with AI, how do you maintain evergreen content and you kind of have that balance where you have some stuff that can just be there forever versus like new stuff that you always have to update?
Most problems are the same, they're just wrapped differently. So acne almost always happens to everyone. Relationship issues, insecurity issues, knowledge gap, and fear of learning issues. So how can you package that differently?
Yeah, I would say like from coding, like let's take coding an example. I know you would be very familiar with it. So coding is like an evergreen topic, but now what's changing with AI is like there's vibe coding, there is like a lot of like tools that are just drag and drop. So I would say as an individual, like that's what we were talking about, like universities, like it's difficult for them to adopt, but as an individual creator, like it's really easy for us, not that easy, but like it's faster for us to like adopt and like share information that is more real time. But again, it goes back to like if you're sharing like more, I would say like trendy topic versus like an evergreen topic, it totally depends on it. And like there's use case for both, so there's not one better than the other. But it is a thing right now with AI, like things are moving really fast, and yes, some content does become old, but the good thing is like you can always go back and reiterate on it.
Yeah, I think I asked that question probably because I am in technology and the kind of content that I create, that I'm like, okay, every day there's something new that's coming out, you know. It'd be hard to even keep up with that, but yeah.
Amazing. Appreciate it. Can we do one more question? Yes.
I'll make it quick. First of all, thank you guys for showing up and giving us your insights. I think they're worth gold because it's interesting to hear your perspective. A little bit about me. I'm a self-taught kind of machine learning scientist, AI person. Been in the industry for over a decade. I spent, scared to admit how long, but many years writing a book. It's called The Variational Book. I intuitively explain generative AI ideas. I've 99.9% done. The next step is for me to spread it out into the world, specifically for Sundas, but everyone, could you please provide recommendations as what you believe is to be the right strategy moving forward?
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Okay. Are you posting there regularly? Okay. That's your step one. So you should be on LinkedIn talking about, while you're writing that book, while you're working on that product, you need to like bring your audience in and walk them through the behind the scenes. So that way, when your product is ready, they will feel like they're already invested in it. So like that's step one. And if there is one platform, I would say like LinkedIn is the way to go because your target audience is already there. And start with your connections. Like I know like LinkedIn can be cringe, but it's okay to be cringe sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I like the technical a little bit more than the marketing so far, but I do recognize I have to kind of like expand my horizons a bit.
yeah. But I would also say you don't have to do it alone. You can just hire somebody who specializes in that and like fills the gap. So there are a lot of options for you. So depending on how you want to address it.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining the session. And thank you to our panelists.